Number one, we are live for week one. We're going to start this thing off. We're going to do a weekly podcast here. I got myself, Chad Leonberg, and Jason Giamboni with me. What's up, Jason? How you doing?
Doing awesome. Super pumped. We got the podcast going. This was in the works for a while, and we finally got round one. Let's not screw it up.
Yeah, I think, and it's funny. I actually ran a podcast when I was like 14 years old, before when you had to manually edit the RSS feed. So this has always been in my DNA, and I've wanted a long form real estate podcast for a while where I can just vent out all these ideas so people can gain some value from the experiences I've had and you've had, in the real estate business. So I'm looking forward to this SharkNation podcast, episode one. So for those of you tuning in, we're going to be weekly here on Wednesdays. We'll run it live and we'll put it on all the proper channels. So if you're listening to us on the future recording, cool. So
hold on. Before we get going, you're not breezing over this. 14 years old, you weren't doing a real estate podcast. I'm gonna guess hockey or your band. What are you doing?
come on, I'm a nerd, man.
Video games? Star Wars?
It was games, tech, and whatever.
Yeah.
So we did we would talk movies, video games. Yeah, and actually, so I started it at 14. It was, thankfully, I don't think a lot of the early remnants are anywhere that are publicly searchable now, thankfully, for my sake. But
We
started when I was 14. It was
something.
called Pure Digital. And then we switched it to static, and it became like a weekly listen for a lot of our, high school friends. And then it actually got some ground before, man, if I knew what I knew now back then, we had 5,000 weekly listeners, but around episode 10 range, I met my wife in high school. Got a little
The
interested.
rest is history. Two girls and a house in Tampa later, and all of a sudden, no more fame and fortune for you.
Found it another way.
That's pretty good though. 5,000 at 14. That's a pretty good audience.
I was 16 at that time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, like I said, if I knew what I knew now then, what was I doing, Not that, for the ego, it's just like I had an audience that was willing to listen to what was going on. And, obviously it was interesting. We had that many weekly listeners. 'Cause it's not about, and that's the thing, and you'll hear us, I think, talk about, or hear me talk about this a lot as we do this. It's not about the money or the status or the whatever. It's about the value you bring, the problem you solve, the impact you make. The money and the status and the awards and the BS comes as a result of those things. So the opportunity I look back at is not the missed dollars I had by having 5,000 subscribers to it at the age of 16. It's the impact that could have been made and the connections that could have been formed. That's how I look back at it. But, did that, then did a band. Now I'm in real estate. Real estate seems to be where I found most connection.
Yeah, you got a niche going for sure.
So while we're at it, where's your background, Jason? How'd you get here?
Just, similar, not podcast, IT background. So I was the IT nerd for 15 years, where did fix stuff, fixing computers, building my own computer, doing all that kind of stuff. I had a bunch of jobs where I'd be the help desk guy, any kind of issues going around, getting the tickets, going around, fixing everybody's problem. And then I graduated to a Canon, which, the camera company. So I worked for them for, 12 to 15 years and covered pretty much the whole country, but Chicago East was like my territory at the end of it. So traveled all over, pretty close to like 1,000,000 miles flown. But, it was a nice job because it was one of those things where, I could work from home and then I travel everywhere. So it kind of like worked out well with the real estate. I started buying my own investment properties because I could go. Had issues with, agents not being able to show me houses. So I'm like, well, screw it. I'll get my license and then I'll I'll go find my own rental properties or whatever, because I'd be working from home, so I could go anytime I wanted to. So the portfolio started taking off, and then my real estate business just started taking off. So I was telling people, like, you got to kind of you have your W-2 income here, and you have your real estate income here. Before you make that jump, you got to kind of get at least close to the dock before making the jump. So
that's interesting, because I have that same conversation, but I always say there's two. So my version of that conversation is there's two ridiculously hard things to do in real estate. One is to get a buyer and seller, or a seller who is also buying, get their closing to line up on the same day. The other really, really hard thing to do is find that exit point from your full-time job into real estate as an agent. Those are the two hardest things. We do them. I've done it with a ton of agents, and I've done it with a ton of buyers, and sellers. But those are two of the hardest things we do. And for me, I like what you said about, getting, like just visioning the income. But I always tell them, I've gotten out of knowing what I take on so much of the personal stress when I know their financial situation. So from my caring self, I've learned that I have to put a wall up to hear that a little bit. But I tell them there's always a leap of faith. For some, they take it early when they're not anywhere near matching that. And some, they take it when they've overpowered it. And it's just, they can't even work because their real estate, income is taken over and their life is just crushing it in real estate. So, but I feel like, to that conversation, it's always a leap of faith to dive into the unpredictable nature of 100% commission.
Yeah, it's tough. And, I was working, my regular 40 to 60 hour W-2 job, and then another 40 hours trying to get the real estate business going. So, took a toll on the old domage, you know what I'm saying? But, something had to give. And, with the real estate gig and everything, you can't beat the freedom, the lifestyle, work when you want, where you want, with who you want, right? That was attractive, and I could still continue my real estate investment property. So one of the hacks that I did was, kind of get my baseline salary as, my monthly income was all the cash flow that I was getting from my rental properties. So that helped make that jump a lot more easier for me. Plus, I didn't have the bandwidth to be doing both at the same time. So yeah, I've been full-time for about 3-4 years now, and it's been awesome.
That's great. Yeah. And that's there's a lot there. I think that perfectly, because one thing we want to talk about a couple things today. And for those of you that are going to tune in for us here, at the end, we're really going to go, we're going to talk about our thoughts on the lawsuit. I know that's a hot topic. So you want to hear our thoughts, our 2 cents on the lawsuit in real estate, NAR. We'll discuss it a little bit, but one of the things we want to talk about was self-doubt. And I think when you talk about coming in, that's a perfect time to talk about that in 2 ways. One, when you come into the business, you're really just betting on yourself. Like, when you're getting in, you don't hear all the noise that us current real estate agents get consumed with, like the lawsuit. Like, there's always some BS. And when you come, I remember when I came in, I didn't care about any of that stuff. I just had my head down and making this a reality. And in a lot of ways, I missed the simplicity of that mind, and I need to get back more to that. But ultimately, when you get in, you're betting on yourself. And for me, I was a big gambler back then. We used to go to the casino once a week before we had children. We were good back then. Like, we actually made money. I don't know what the hell I can't now. But, I looked at it. I'm like, I'm betting on me. I know I'll win that bet every time. I was super confident in myself and just my ability. And that's what I love so much about this business is you get rewarded for not just the work, but the results you produce, directly and in big ways. But then that's, so self-doubt in the beginning, you got to have very minimal of it because you got to weather some storms, right? Like, and for a quick snippet, my first 8 months in the business, I was on a 65% split with a 25% mentor fee to an agent who didn't sell really any real estate. and I sold 3 houses under 100K. 2 were foreclosures from Zillow leads, 250 a month, you know. I made a switch and went to Remax, paid a $500 a month fee as a person who didn't make any money. I was making 25 grand at my dad's car lot, and I said I did the math. It was a better split. If I can sell 10 houses in a year, I'm good. But then I only sold one house in 3 months. That was 35,000. Yeah, I was on a better split, but I only sold one, you know. And then in March, 5 houses in 1 week. 5 houses in 1 week, and then it was history. It took off, and I sold 60 the second year, and it was crazy. But the point was, there was a lot of self-doubt through those first 8 months where I sold 4 shit houses, you know. A lot of self-doubt. But I knew I wanted to make this work because freedom and flexibility of real estate. And I think today, you know, when I look at it where I'm at now, 9 years in the business, and you know where the self-doubt comes, and every time I've experienced it since, I've had proof in the pudding. Is you've got to realize, when you consider going and taking the safety net job or the other career that's sitting there, or the whatever, one, the opportunities are much more limited. And two, you're gonna have to do shit you don't want to do by force, because that's what it is. You do the, you know, the boss tells you to do it, or the checklist tells you to do it, and if you don't do it, you get fired. Well, what if you did that in your real estate business? You know, that's the unfortunate truth of it is we're allowed to do our business our way. So sometimes we're like, you know what, I'm gonna do A, B, and D, but forget C. I'm not going to make the calls. I'm just going to text everybody, because most people only respond to my texts anyway. And it's not just about making calls, but we skip steps because we can. And you look at it and you go, okay, I'm going to go work 8 hours a day, drive to and from, not be around my kids, not have the freedom I desired. If I just, and then I'm going to have to get on the phone there and deal with people I don't want to deal with. If I just did that shit here and put a schedule together and a structure, or got somebody to keep me accountable to that, and I'd have the unlimited opportunity, the flexibility of schedule. You know what I mean? So every time I've had that self-doubt, I normally look at it and go, okay, what would it look like if I just stopped betting on myself, you know, and took the other way? And then I'd be doing a lot of shit I don't want to do. Does that resonate with you at all?
Yeah, big time. I have this conversation a lot with some of the team members. A lot of people can't handle the freedom. You know, real estate is not for everybody. You know, not having that, you know, I have to be at work at 9 o'clock and I have to check out at 5 and I have these activities in between. You know, that's not, you know, most people are set up on that structure because, you know, if you think about it, your first job is going to be something similar. You know, you come in, you're bussing tables or whatever, and you're going to be there from 3 to 11. And you got to do this particular task for that amount of time. With real estate, it's like, you know, we work when most people are not working, you know, when they get out of work, that's kind of when our day starts. And then during the day, you got to kind of plan and set up your day. A lot of people can't handle that freedom, you know. So one of the things that I, you know, talk a lot about is like setting yourself up with a schedule to win, right? You know, me and you were talking about the daily sprint document from the sales mastery class where, you know, hey, take care of this and take care of your non-negotiables in the morning. You know, have some time in there for self-development and, you know, working on yourself. And then do your appointments in the afternoon. If you don't have any appointments in the afternoon, continue on, you know, from what you were doing in the morning until you get appointments to do. You know what I mean? But a lot of people can't handle that freedom with it. You know, it's tough. And I see a lot of people struggle. They want to stay up late, you know. You don't have a boss to check in. You could play video games and drink beers all night long, or party all night till 3 a.m. and get up at noon. And it's like, it's crazy. You know, I don't have anybody cracking that whip. But just to circle back on that self-doubt thing, you know, I still have it. I don't know. Maybe I'm a basket case. But you know, for one, you know, it was a big jump. I was making like 6 figures in my old job. So I don't want to listen to my wife if, you know, like, hey, what did you do? You know, obviously things have been successful since that jump, but I still use that to motivate me. Like, look, I'm not going to mess this up, right? And then every year, when our cap resets and we have to do it again, it's like, could I do it again? Was it just a good market? Was it just, you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
I don't, I don't even know, it's like, you know, both of us are multiple time icon, we're the top 3% of our company. It's not luck, but still, even, I have my weekly accountability calls with Ryan, and I'm always like, my cap resets in February. I hit icon in October. So I have like 4 months of, coasting basically for 100%. And it's still like, February 1st comes and I reset and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if I'm going to do it this year. All that self-doubt creeps in and it's like, okay, get out there, grind, and you make it happen. But like you said, setting up that, there's discipline and freedom, right? So if you do the tasks and you set your schedule up and you work that schedule out, the results are going to come. So I think a lot of that ties back into kind of what you were talking about there.
Yeah, and it's tough when you pivot too. I mean, obviously there's devils at every level, and we're diving across all. Come from starting out to you're 9 years in, or in your case, what are you, 5 or so?
5+, yeah.
And I've noticed when I've pivoted, so I've pivoted a few times, from solo to team leader, not in the state that the team is in, to a little bit of a coach and digital marketer is this kind of recent pivot. And that one was the hardest, and I'm still in the middle of it a little bit. But, when you start, I always had the sales, and I got away from it a little bit with the team, but I still had the team. When you start to just straight up coach a little bit, people in the partner program or people with our marketing agency and stuff like that. It's tough because I used to go to the events and like, we just closed, 15 deals this month, or we just, like it was like, and now it's like, that difference where you don't have that muscle flex. And, sometimes it's kind of like an ego thing, you have to get over, is if you're wanting to pivot in that direction, no different than like a solo agent transitioning to a team, like, on both sides, whether you're the leader or the member, you have to give up a little bit of ego sometimes. You're probably a better team leader if you get out of production and provide everything 100% to your team members. I mean, it depends. There's different models. And then on the same time with a team member, a lot of them are hesitant to do it because they think they are the best thing in the world. But with a little bit of structure, a little bit of accountability, and a little bit of help and maybe marketing dollars and stuff like that, they might flourish and make way more than they could do on their own, and or have time freedom a bit, have more time with their kids, because some things are being handled. They're staying in their lane, doing what they're best at. So, I think that ego causes a lot of that, like perpetual self-doubt, because you've got to prove, in this business, every 2 seconds you got to, sell 50 houses to feel like you're stacking up to the highlight reel on the other, and it's just us realtors most of the time. You tell the public you sold $1 million in real estate and they think you're a millionaire, and it's like, well, that doesn't work, because but we get awards for breathing in real estate because we need it. But
we have ego problems. Yeah, we have low self-esteem. The more trophies, the better. But like you're saying, like with the, and I've been thinking a lot about this too, because when I talk to the team about it, it's, everybody likes that freedom of the real estate job, right? But I think when, we're asking permission to hold them accountable for things, that's kind of like the opposite end, where it's like, now you're the boss, right? And most people don't want the boss, because that's why they want to get into this business. But somebody's got to be there to kind of guide you and, make sure you're doing what you're doing. So it's a fine balancing act there as far as, do I want to be held accountable? No, nobody wants to be held accountable. Do I want to go to the gym? No, I do not want to go to the gym. But it's like, if I put these things in and I have somebody that's going to hold me accountable, and, I have financial penalties if I don't do what I say I'm going to do, like, that's the only way that's going to motivate me to get it done. But I think like when people first get in and they see that freedom and all that kind of stuff, they don't want that accountability because kind of like it's like a double negative, right? I don't want that boss, but I think everybody needs it or some
Well,
part of it.
and I have proof that it works because I can tell you with the team, we used to have a rule. I was real big on, hey, you got into real estate because you didn't want a boss, so I'm not going to boss. I let numbers manage people, not people manage people. But what my one big thing though, because I tried to be not in their face so much. One of my biggest things was if you don't have we had follow-up tasks based on what status the lead was. If you don't have them all completed, and I even told them, you can cheat it. You can check all and, mark it off. This is for me to help you. Like I'm sometimes too honest. um, but every Tuesday and Tuesday and Thursday at 5, we would pause them if they had tasks, there that were left open. And it was just automated essentially. Like if you had tasks there, pause. There was no who's favorite and who's excuses. It was just you clear them out, you get turned back on. You were getting paused on leads for the team, and we got away from that. And I did a little case study, a little research. Our production per agent went down of I think it was like 4 houses per year per agent whenever we didn't have that implemented versus when we did, when we looked at the math. And so that right there is clear cut proof. And then, accountability to that point to further it is the greatest form of love somebody can show you. And like that, people always ask me why I'm married, why do you love your wife, right? You always get asked that question. And I always said she makes me a better person. But what it results in, and we literally just had a conversation this morning relative to her skill set in this, is she keeps me accountable. She calls out my bullshit. It sucks sometimes.
Yeah. They're not shy, right? Our wives are not shy at calling us out when we're messing up.
And it's good because we get caught up in our own excuses and BS, and because anybody can understand it with working out, but it's one thing to understand it, it's another to do it with everything. But we all understand, and I've said this 100 times, if you go to the gym 5 days a week for a half hour a day, you most likely at some point get in shape. I shouldn't say most likely, you will get in shape at some point. It's just going to take time on task over time. And if we had somebody keeping us accountable to do that, it's reminding us not to listen to the BS we spin to ourselves, stay accountable to the plan we set that would get us the result by default, and we'll get there. And it's the same thing. It's the same thing in real estate and life. And we just come up with these avoidance excuses and tools and paths we go down. That's and I'm guilty. I say it a lot lately, but I'm so guilty as well. I get shiny object syndrome and squirrel mode and all that stuff. When you commit to the same thing over time and keep yourself accountable to doing that, so you don't let those squirrel modes happen, like good things happen every time.
Yeah, for sure. And here's the thing. Once you're a real estate agent, everybody tries to sell you as much shit as possible. And this shiny object, and this is the best thing ever. And you need this system for your business and this. And if you just keep it simple and just do the daily work, that's all you need. You don't need this. You don't need that. You need consistency. If you don't have that, you're never going to be successful. You're never going to have that track record. You're never going to get traction and momentum to build your business. But, that's a lot of people are like, well, now I need to do this. Well, now I need to do that. And it's like, just stay focused and just focus on one thing over time and you'll be all right. That's my secret sauce. I'm super consistent with what I do every day. You know what I mean? And it's like nothing flashy. Like I said, with the wife thing, I'd probably wear the same clothes every day if she wasn't like on me, like, hey, clean yourself up. You know what I mean? But staying consistent every day and just grinding out the dirty stuff. It's like, it's gonna happen. But it's like, oh well, I need to do this, and now I need to take these calls, and now I got to buy this lead source. It's like, dude, just
and now I need AI.
Yeah.
But so I wanted to hit because I'm like a little in the phase, not in the. I live in a world of using the shiny objects, especially running a marketing agency and the CRM and stuff. you're right, 110%. Um, but I think there's a little bit of a path to it. You've got to get there first. I always used to say, get there, stabilize, and grow, or build, optimize, and then expand, or all kinds of stuff like different things. So like you've got to get to where there's proof of concept. And then once it's working and there's proof of concept, then maybe you can go look at the thousands and millions of shiny object tools that can help you optimize and cut down time and leverage, you know what I mean? But the problem is like I say that because there is a validity in those shiny objects, but like to your point, there's probably 80-90% of people's focus on them where it should be like 5 to 10% because it's just when you need it, you know. It's not a magic pill that gets you there. They don't
Don't
exist.
rely on it for sure.
But if you do, if you're somebody that is systemized and use it, if it works in your regular wheelhouse, it can help if you're staying in your CRM. But like, there's not a magic one. And now I'll tell you what, because I've always just ran my business and then the team. When we opened it up and we run our own CRM, and I see a lot of agents' business now, in the CRM, it is amazing. It is amazing. One, how many people think that just by having the same tool you have that they will succeed? And it is also amazing that how little real work, like, well, and let's take it away from work. Conversations result in sales. How little conversations agents have. Like it's when it just boggles my mind. They're like, I want to do 30 deals this year, and I look at their CRM in the last 15 days, they've made 5 phone calls. I'm not telling you go cold call people all day, every day. I'm saying you have outbound, like talked to 5 people in 15 days, and you think you're going to sell more real estate like that? Like,
Yeah, no, it doesn't work that way. And like you said, it's I always just say it's a numbers game. The more people that you talk to, the more appointments you're going to go on. The more appointments you're going to go on, the more offers you're going to write. The more offers you write, the more get accepted. The more get accepted, the more you're going to close, and then the more you're going to make. But if you don't have that front of funnel going and you're not talking to people on the front end, you're never going to get that result in the back end. So it's like, yeah, and it's daily consistent results of talking to people every single day, and then just solving problems and helping people out.
it's a perfect as we want to talk about. There's less sales in the marketplace right now. Some are down 15, some are down 30% sales, just number of sales in your market. And some agents are up and some agents are down. It's seeming to be a widening of the gap from the people doing the work and people not doing the work, is what's happening. But it's real simple. Here's the problem. There's less sales in the marketplace. So if you want the same result, you're going to have more conversations this year. Like that, I don't know what to tell you guys that are listening or whatever, but conversion rates are real. They matter. Like there's no bad lead source. There's just what rate does it convert at and how much time or money does it cost you to get those conversations? So is it profitable? Is there a return on time or a return on investment? That's it. There's nothing. It doesn't matter if we're talking about cold calls, internet lead. It doesn't matter. That's what it is. And then at the end of the day, those conversion rates changed this year. They got lower. You needed more conversations to get more sales in the last 12 to 24 months. At some point, there was this switch that flipped. And on top of that, sprinkle in that it's been a little bit interesting in the real estate world with high interest rates and stuff like that. You have to have skilled and real conversations. People don't just want, like, you don't just go and put your offer in out of the 40. And if you were the highest in cash and you won, you don't go through the motions. You have to navigate things. You have to assume loans, assume mortgages. You have to do the 2-to-1 buy downs. You have to get creative. You have to know your shit. And the ones that aren't doing that and diving deeper and having more conversations and skilled conversations are hurting. And it is that simple. But it's hard to stomach, and then it's hard if you're thinking otherwise. It's hard to stomach that you could be wrong, and then it's hard to implement because it's work.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, the attrition rate and the number of agents that are getting out of the business right now is pretty staggering for sure. And it's all throughout the country. I forget what the stat was from NAR, but I'm pretty sure it was like 100,000 agents are no longer practicing, something like that, something ridiculously crazy, right? So, you know, you could do two things. You could either double down and put in more work, right? Or you see a lot of agents saying like, look, I'd rather get a part-time job because it's not as easy as it was, right? Where you could just go out there, everybody's buying and selling, and you know, there's a. I just had somebody come into the office. Hang tight
Yeah.
one second. Um, so yeah, I mean, everybody's not buying and selling right now. Where it's like, you know, it's not the market of 2020, right? Or 2021, right? When, the floodgates opened after COVID, and it was like everybody wanted to get their license because everybody was, grabbing money off the real estate tree. And then, it was easy, right? Right now, I think we're going more, from a seller's market to a buyer's market, right? You're seeing buyers have a lot more of the advantage. You're seeing a lot more days on market. You're seeing a lot more, negotiation things that are going on where it's like, hey, look, it's not apples to apples. So do you want to dig deep and, work harder and kind of, like you said, you got to be the expert now. You got to find solutions to the interest rate problems. You got to find solutions to, hey, look at, I need to buy to sell, but there's low inventory. You know what I mean? There's all kinds of solutions that we need to solve. And it's like, if you're not that expert, I think, your clients are going to figure that out pretty quick and find somebody else.
Yeah, and it's good, really, because it actually this type of stuff, not that we need to, value is where you make money, but this gives us a job because it gives us space to provide value. So it's actually really a good thing. This is what, and everybody thinks, they're gonna automate the real estate agent and like get us out of business and stuff like that. This is why all of those like Zillow buying homes and stuff failed, because first of all, things shifted, and then the speed at which they shifted has never been like seen. This the speed of how this stuff has happened in the last couple of years has been just like instant. Like to your point of seller to buyer's market. Yeah, interest rates had gone up, but it was still relatively a seller's market. In the last 2 weeks, we've had such a flood of inventory in every market. Just in the last 2 weeks, like it's like we went like I mean, it was like, yeah, we're starting to creep back up on inventory. To here you go. Here's like like it went
Floodgates are open.
and you need now more than ever somebody to navigate that those turbulent waters, because it's complicated. So people are getting exposed. The people that weren't prospecting, the people that weren't having conversations, the people that weren't true experts, they're just getting exposed. And we all are, like, even if we're good, we have weak spots that are just being exposed in this market. But those of us that bet on ourselves and truly believe in ourselves, just do the next right thing each day, and you'll fix it, and you'll be where you need to be. It's not that hard. It's just but it's hard to walk through.
Yep, for sure. And it's like that Warren Buffett quote, you find out who's skinny dipping when the tide comes back, right? You know what I mean? It's going to be, it's a different day, and it's going to take a different class of agent and a different, professional mindset and a skill level to be successful now. So, like you said, people that aren't doing the work or, not figuring out how to solve these problems for their clients are going to be in a pinch.
Which is the perfect transition into the lawsuit. So for those that don't know, some sellers got into a big class action lawsuit against a bunch of major brokerages, and so far have won. Obviously, there's appeals and blah, 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 about paying a buyer agent commission, a seller paying a buyer agent commission. And for those that really don't know, if you're watching and not in real estate, 6% ish, not fixed, maybe 5, maybe 2, maybe 20. I don't know. We don't know. But generally, say if it's 6%, for example, half of that is paid to the buying agent, half is paid to the listing agent. It's all paid from the seller, but the buyer makes the sale happen. What person? There's so much with this, obviously, and we're never going to know for the next probably year or two where it's going to go. There's going to be a lot of appeals. So as an agent, keep on trucking, you got a year or two before I think it really impacts you directly. And bet on yourself, get knowledge when it happens and learn how to navigate it and become the expert on the new situation, whether it's a new disclosure or buyers have to pay you or however. But the funniest thing is, I think it's such a bad thing for the consumer. If we step away, I'm all about the agent and the blah, blah, blah and helping them succeed. But if you look at the consumer, like if you want to go buy a house, you can call up any agent and they'll all die for your business, and go see 15, 20 houses over the weekend and decide it's not the right time or it's not the right market and you want to go buy in another city and not owe the agent a penny. And you had an expert in navigating that and doing all that for you. And, people have a fit when we make a lot of money on a sale. Like, take a crazy case. Say you make 40 grand on a sale. It's a lot. It's one of the highest commissions, probably. But let's say you do, that's, you subsidize the cost of the free showings where we made nothing into those big sales. There's a reason why, 90% almost of agents fail in the first 5 years. This ain't easy business, and I think getting away from that model, because it's a model, how we pay agents on buyer and seller side, is damaging to buyers. It's super damaging. Doesn't mean that matters. The right thing doesn't always happen. Amazon has run some really good mom and pop stores that were helpful to the community. Not just Amazon, Walmart, all of them have run five and dimes and, things out of business that might have been a great asset to that local community. The market doesn't give a shit. The market's going to do what the market's going to do. But I do think it's just first point is it's terrible for buyers.
Yeah, a couple things to unpack there. One, I just sold a couple rental properties in my old primary house. Could I sue myself as the seller of those properties?
Yes.
I could? Okay, just double checking on that, right? All right. And like you said, it's going to be different, right? So different talk track. I used to say, hey, look at, we represent you 100% for free. Our commission comes from the seller, right? A lot of people don't realize that all the work that an agent does, you don't get paid unless it closes. If it doesn't close, you don't get paid. So all that work that you did beforehand, nothing, right? So having that different talk track, right? Hey, look at, is the buyer going to be paying that? How are we going to navigate that? I mean, we've been talking for the team. We've had, our state broker in to kind of navigate that market and, kind of best practices on it. I think, listing agents such as us, we're probably going to talk to our sellers about, offering still a buyer agent commission, right? Because here's the thing, you want to kind of incentivize agents to show your property, right? So there's always that catch-22 on that. So I don't think that's going to change. But then there's going to be sellers out there that are like, look I'm not paying them anything. Put it on the market and, let the buyer pay their agent the commission. So then you have, as an agent, you got to navigate, okay, well, the seller's not paying this now, you're going to be responsible for this portion of the commission, right? So how do you kind of navigate those waters? And, it's going to be time will tell, maybe we add seller assist or credit or something like that. And we roll that commission into the thing. But I just did a video on it yesterday. You want representation from buyer agent, right? I said, three different things. One, the seller and the listing agent have a fiduciary responsibility back to each other, right? Two, who's going to negotiate repairs when the inspection comes up, or credits, or any kind of negotiation for that, or appraisals, right? You're going to want somebody in your corner negotiating that stuff. And then three, like, you think a seller or a listing agent's going to just offer you like concessions, like seller assist to help roll your closing costs into the loan, or any kind of credit like that for you as a buyer? Just offer that stuff up, nonchalantly? No, they're not going to say that, because then it kind of negatively impacts them. So I think the buyer agent's still going to have a lot more value moving forward, and I don't think they're going away anytime soon.
Yeah, I think, and well, I mean, to everything you just said, I mean, that's the argument, right? Is the seller says, why should I pay for somebody to negotiate against me? Um, the problem is that's the way the model kind of currently is, and when you change it and you leave it, all right, up to the market to decide, like you said, like for example, some sellers won't do that. So if not many do that, if not many offer a buyer agent commission, you're going to have what you have with for sale by owners already. They sell for less on average than homes that are represented, and I know that sounds like such a puff a real estate agent up thing, but I see it daily because they make mistakes that agents don't make. It's just what it is. But aside from that, um, if they just do it a little bit, I think you're just going to have like a new category of FISBOs, like FISBO 2.0, for sale by owners 2.0. That
Yeah.
these ones don't get as much money because they, just like flat fee MLS stuff that exists currently. They don't get as much money for their home because they don't. But if it does become a big portion of sellers that don't, we don't know which way that'll go. We have to see what people do. If it becomes a big portion of sellers, say 50%, that don't want to offer buyer agency commissions, what's going to happen is the value of a buyer agent is now really going to have to be shown and articulated to the buyers, because it's gonna have to be a much bigger talk track, like you said, in conversation. Um, and yeah, and then how it's paid is, depends on where that go, so the lenders will allow it and stuff like that. But like, it's the other thing is funny too, though. I always used to say it comes from the seller. The seller is paying the buyer's agent. Not really. The buyer is buying the house. Too. It's like the money came from the buyer. The sell, so it's like, it's interesting. There's a lot of varying perspectives on it, but I think at the end of the day, um, the best thing you can do as an agent is just know your value and know how to articulate it to the public. And it's hard sometimes. It's hard whenever you just say, well, if you work with me, it goes smooth. If you don't, it doesn't. Like it.
Yeah, that's not gonna work for sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm talking to the team a lot more of sitting down and having these buyer consultation meetings, right? Talk about the process, how things work, and kind of navigate that ahead of time. Like, here's what we're bringing to the table, right? This is why you want to partner up with us, right? I think those conversations are going to be bigger now. So
Yeah, and it's good. I mean, it's all this is good for agents that will do the work, will be the expert. Like the ones that are coasting and lazy and just trying to press the easy button, they're the ones that are getting exposed. And if you are one of them, or maybe you just got in recent years and didn't know what it does look like when the money tree isn't there, it's okay. You just start fixing it today. It's not hard to form life changing habits. You can actually do it in one day. You just have to do it. You have to flip the switch and commit to being better. One great resource for anybody watching is follow Keeping Current Matters. It's definitely a national view, but and then you can purchase their monthly thing where you get a lot of good marketing tools and stuff like that. But even if you just go on their YouTube channel, you can get in touch. You can become an expert on the market, especially as a whole, super quickly. It's fair to say if you watch just their YouTube deep dives and stuff or their market reports, you'd be more knowledgeable than 70-80% of the agents out there, especially on the national market. It's really good stuff. So, there's a bunch of tools like that and resources. Plug into your brokerages, plug into your people. It's out there. You just got to seek it and become the expert. So we're gonna do this weekly. Every Wednesday, we're gonna roll this out. We're gonna have some varying guests on. We're gonna share some tips and tricks. This is for the SharkNation is a podcast mostly for real estate agents. We want agents to win. We want to provide what value we've had from our experiences that we've had selling real estate at a high level in this market. And we are sharks. We like to be the predator and not the prey mentality. We want to live life on the offense. So hopefully this provides value to you wherever you are in your real estate career or wherever you are in your life. Thanks, Jason, man. I appreciate the conversation and friendship
yeah,
and partnership. And
yeah, no, this was fun. We'll definitely have to do it again. Hopefully, like you said, providing value to people, trying to help agents out. I have groups, you have groups that just constantly keep digging in and keep helping out here. Here's free stuff to help you grow. I'm doing an event on Friday, right? Free event for any agent that wants to go. 7 ways to get listing leads for free. You don't have to pay for it. You don't have to do anything. There's no gimmicks behind it. It's just, our market's down XYZ%. Here's ways for you to grow your business while it's a slower time of the year with the holidays and stuff like that. I'm going to be doing a ton of different events and just giving back to the agency, what kind of value we can provide.
And I got this little fortune cookie.
Say nobody's going to come to your event. What?
No. It says leadership is action, not position.
For sure.
And that's something, you and I have seen, and we see a harder marketplace. So you and I'm doing a four-week course on how to build your business for 2024. Totally free. We're on week 4 this week, right now. And we see agents are struggling right now, and those that need the light in the lighthouse, the fog is out there. They need that lighthouse, right? If they need it filled, that's what we just want to be, because it doesn't matter that we've run teams and sold a lot of real estate and have a lot of partners and build the things. If we could just sit on that, that's not leadership by having people that we've worked with. It's leadership by, we see there's a need in the marketplace, we're going to go lead our way through it, and be a lighthouse for them and be a resource, be a connector. It doesn't matter what it is, just be that. So we're living that fortune cookie, man. That's what we're doing.
No, I like it. I just got a call from an agent looking for some info on some stuff, and I'm like Uncle Jay. Everybody comes to me and they're like, "Hey, how do I get ABC, or where do I find XYZ?" It's like, I'll take on that responsibility to help people out, whatever they need. We're here to help. Like you said, it's a small community of people, and a lot of people don't get that help or training or guidance, when they start. I think like when I start, I got like an hour of buyer training, an hour of seller training. It's like, fucking figure it out. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want that to be for everybody. So
that's it.
Well, let's do it again. Our 20-minute podcast just went like an hour. So we'll have to be.
Well, I said we needed at least 20 minutes. That's all.
That's right.
All right. No, it's good stuff. We'll get back to it. We'll get back to doing that work that everybody's scared to do. See you next week. Everybody else, we'll see you there as well.
Peace.